and welcome to the 100 Acre Wool Knitting Podcast. My name is Bella and I am a knitter and knitwear designer based in Northern California in the US. And this is a podcast where I like to share with you what I'm working on, maybe some new designs I have in the works, and any other sort of making that I have been doing in my life. So if that sounds interesting to you, then maybe grab a project to work on or a drink or a snack and get comfy. So I am a lover of all things fiber arts, and that definitely includes knitting. Most of the time I'm talking about knitting here on this channel. Sometimes I also talk about crochet or sewing or even felting and things of that sort. But today is going to be all about knitting, and I also have some new yarn acquisitions to share with you from summer travels that I've been going on, so stay tuned for that. And this summer I've really been getting into some older hobbies of mine as well, like watercolor and oil painting, as well as spinning even. I feel like I haven't done spinning in quite a while. So I've just been trying to learn some new skills on those topics and just practice some more and get my feet wet again with those sorts of hobbies. Have a lot of enjoyment with those, and yeah, learning new skills as well. So that brings us to the sponsor of today's video. This video is sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives with a wide depth and breadth of topics ranging from sewing to illustration, graphic design, photography to video editing, marketing, productivity, and even more. Skillshare is an on-demand platform with stackable lessons so members can learn at their own pace no matter the skill level. There are thousands of creative classes in countless categories ranging from beginner to advanced, so members can go from dabbler to pro in a matter of hours. Classes are designed by creatives for creatives, and Skillshare classes are taught by industry experts excited to share their tools, techniques, and professional journeys with members. I personally have been very interested in gaining more skill and confidence in my watercolor practice, so I started watching Rosalie Hazlett's Watercolor in the Woods class. Her way of teaching and explaining how to look at nature in a whole new way was very eye-opening, and her work is absolutely inspiring. So since I know you are interested in learning new skills just like I am, the first 500 people to use my link in the description below will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. So get started today, and thank you, Skillshare. So let's get right into things. I have quite a few projects to share with you today. I have, one finished object, and I think quite a few almost finished objects. So the first thing to share with you, a finished object, I finished my version of the Amaretta Blouse. This is it here. So this is a design that I have been working on for quite a while, trying to perfect it and doing a lot of testing. And this is one of my versions. I've already made another version, which you can go back in the podcast episodes if you would like to see that. And then I also made one for my mom. I have another one still going that I haven't picked up in a while, but I'm getting back to very, very soon. And that is like a long sleeve version, more of like a fall kind of version. So this pattern I'm envisioning will be like a base, like a basic sort of pattern. And then I will have different things, different sort of resources in the pattern that you can add on and make it how you want. Make it for whatever season you want, and yeah, just kind of things like that. Long sleeve, short sleeve, balloon sleeve, all the different things. So it'll be kind of a plethora of options for adding on to this base pattern. You can also have it without buttons down the center or with buttons, all the options. I'll have a whole thing about it in the future. But anyway, yeah, this is my sample finished. I knit this with kind of the spring, summer vibes in mind, wanting to wear it in the spring and summer, and just in a really light, flowy sort of fabric. And I love this little blue color, this beautiful yarn from Biche et Bouche. I adore it. I think it is absolutely beautiful. This is their wool, what is it called? Le Petit Lamb's Wool. I really love this base. So that's been a nice thing to work with. It's a nice rustic wool without feeling scratchy. I know different people have different tolerances to wool and how it feels on their skin. I personally don't have very much of a sensitivity to it, so this doesn't feel scratchy to me. But I have definitely felt scratchier wool, so this is nice, I think. Yeah, anyway, really happy with how this one came out. And if you saw earlier episodes, you may have seen that I had knit one first I thought was going to be for myself. It ended up being too large, so that's actually going to be for my mom, and I had to make another one for myself. So this I knit what will be in the pattern size 2, and it fits exactly how I was envisioning. Maybe I'll insert some B-roll in here if I have time, but you will definitely see it on Instagram as well. I will be wearing this one and you can see how it fits. But I love the little buttons. So these were from, oh, I forget the name. I'm always forgetting the website name, but just so cute. I'm hoping they'll come up on camera. And this was a double knit button band, and then I also did all the way around the top on all the edgings, I did little crochet scallops. So again, all these details and how to do them, all the details will be in the pattern, of course. And I'm just so excited about this one. If you have been wanting to knit this, I know many of you have been waiting and waiting and waiting so patiently. Thank you. I'm sorry this is taking a while. I do have, if you don't know, I do have a full-time job outside of my whole knitting, podcasting, knitting, knitwear design business sort of going. So I do have a full-time job outside of that. So it's a lot to keep up with, and I do my best. But I do want to make sure that my patterns are as well written as I can be. I really try to make sure that they're as clear and concise and just works well for you as a knitter. So there we go. It may take a little bit longer, but this is a piece that you can wear all year round, or you can knit multiple ones for different times of year, and I think it's kind of a timeless sort of a style, so I'm not in any rush with that. But with that said, the test knit is coming. The test knit call is coming next week. I'm very excited. So yeah, if you would like to be a test knitter, if you would like to apply to be a test knitter for this, then make sure to follow me on Instagram. I will be doing the test knit call there. And yeah, all the details will be there sometime next week. I don't have an exact date yet, but next week. Yeah, very excited about this one. That's called the Amaretta Blouse. And then I also have a little update for you on my mom's version. So I visited my mom a couple of weeks ago. We were visiting family for the summertime, and I had brought this over to her for her to try on / keep. There are a couple of changes that she wanted though, so I did bring it back. So of course, while we were there, we went to eat some yarn shops, which I'll show you what happened there later. Have some acquisitions with that. But she also, when we were at the shop, she also found these gorgeous buttons that she wanted me to sew on to her blouse. So let's see, will it focus? Such beautiful, beautiful buttons. They're from Idle Wild? Idle Wild. Wow, I can't read. These are the buttons. Idle Wild buttons. And they're just beautiful. I think they're ceramic. Yeah, clay buttons and a beautiful glaze on them. Just a really beautiful color, and so she wanted those on her version of the blouse. And then the neckline is actually still too big for her, so I'm gonna have to do some testing as far as like maybe adding some elastic or bringing it in somehow. We'll see, but she loves it as well, so I'm excited for that one. And then, okay, another work in progress, almost a finished object. I am still working on another design of mine, which has yet to be named, but this is a very fluffy, fuzzy, sort of pullover blouse sort of a thing. It is all over brioche, and oh my gosh, it's so soft and cozy. This is going to be so great for the fall and winter. I am knitting this one again for my mom. She had actually purchased the yarn many moons ago and wanted me to knit her something, and then at one point I had an idea for this design and she loved the idea, so that's what it is. This is the first sample of that design, and I love it so much that I know I'm gonna want my own sample as well, so I am ordering some more La Bien-Aimée yarn for this. So this sample in particular is La Bien-Aimée. It is their, I finally have a skein, I can show you exactly what it is. It's their Kumo base, so it is 74% baby Surrey and 26% mulberry silk. The colorway is Nadia that I'm using, and I think we got this in Washington DC at Looped Yarn Shop. I think is where we got these skeins of yarn. Again, years ago, I think like maybe 2 years ago we got these for her, and they were just sitting in my stash just waiting to become something. So wow, I really love this base. If you are looking for the softest mulberry silk Surrey combo sort of a yarn, then I would definitely recommend. It's super soft and almost too soft. It's like really drapey and slippery. It almost is sometimes hard to work with, especially with my metal Chiaogu needles that I have going right now. But it's good. I love it. I think it's definitely going to be worth it. So yeah, it's kind of a open neckline, and it's got this little, again, scallops. Can we see that I love scallops? But this is brioche. This is not any sort of crochet on this pattern. And then for this sample, I did a little 3/4 length sleeve with a little bit of little taper there at the bottom. And then I did a sewn bind off. So a 1x1 rib sewn bind off on there. And this whole pattern is only one strand of Surrey. Let's see, what needle size am I using again? I think they're US 3 needles, which sounds like a lot when you're talking about lace weight yarn and US 3 needles, but when it's brioche, I don't know, it feels like it goes quickly, at least for me. Yeah, I find it very meditative and fun. So you can see both the sleeves are done now. Really cute little kind of a balloon 3/4 length sleeve, and I'm still working on the bottom. There's gonna be some more details, something surprising at the bottom, and you will see that next time. But I did want to share these nifty little things that we got again when I was on my trip a couple weeks ago on the East Coast to visit family. We stopped in Frederick, Maryland at the Magpie Fibers shop, which, wow, if you're in the area ever, that's a beautiful yarn shop. Would definitely recommend going in and having a look-see. It was a very lovely place. And they also have like seating and things and events that you can go and knit and meet people, so that was awesome. We only had a very short amount of time to go visit, so couldn't do any of that, but it was really cool, so would definitely recommend. And my mom spotted these little needle like stitch stopper things, which I thought were so great. I've seen this kind of a thing before, but I've only seen it as like a little foam, something like foam that you either put on each individual needle, so each individual needle is still like separated from each other, or I've also seen just the tips that you just put on the needle tips, and I was always scared that those would fall off or get lost and not really work, so I have never tried those in particular, but I thought this would be really great. So you basically squish this, you like push in the top, and then the needles fit in there. If you can see how the mechanism works, if you push it in, and then you can slide the needles, and it's got like a huge range of needle sizes that you can use with this. And then the kit also came with one for smaller needle sizes, so it also came with this one. little tiny guy. So if you're working with like US size 0 or 1, or I think this one goes up to US 2, that would be the one that you would use. So, and it's worked great. I haven't had any issue with them sliding off at all. They're very sturdy on there. The only thing is they are heavy, so it kind of weighs down your project, but I don't think that matters if it's on your lap or anything. But yeah, would highly recommend checking this type of a gizmo out, whether it's from Magpie, or I'm sure there's other places that sell this kind of a thing, but has definitely saved me, because on the trip I was working on this project and some stitches flew off, of course, because this yarn is very, very soft, and in my project bag, like half the row or half the round just slid off the needles, and this is brioche, so I had to deal with that. So yeah, we definitely recommend getting some stitch stoppers, especially if you're traveling and moving your project, and yeah, save yourself the trouble and the wasted time of fixing all that. So yeah, I'm really excited about this project. I'm really excited about the new yarn coming in that I can make my own sample, and it is so fluffy. Wow, okay. Enough on that one. I'm just gonna be fawning over that yarn all day. Okay. And the next work in progress is another design. Everything today is all my own designs that I'm working on. As you can see, there's a trend. I am getting really into designing patterns and just having a lot of fun with having an idea and trying to bring it into reality. So that's what I've been working on mostly recently. And this is another work in progress. I've been working on it for a while, off and on, but haven't put too much time into this recently because I think it will be a later in the year pattern. This is the Velvet Moss Vest. I was inspired by some velvet looking moss that I saw on some trees around where we live, and just wanted to try to recreate those vibes into a pattern and also kind of the feel. So this is a herringbone knit fabric. There are 3 different yarns used throughout, but you only really see 2 different colorways. One of the combos is there's 2 yarns used as like the main color, so you can see here on the edging, on all the edgings here, just that main color. That is actually 1 strand of unspun yarn held with 1 strand of silk mohair, and then I also have some of my own hand spun throughout as the second contrast color. So this is how it's looking now. I have finished and seamed, or not seamed, but done a sewn bind off on both of the sleeve holes or armholes, and I'm really happy with how those came out. Again, like I said, this was unspun yarn and silk mohair, so that was a bit of a different challenge. Yeah, if you've worked with unspun yarn before, you may know that it is very difficult to do a sewn bind off with unspun yarn, since you are having to pull a very long strand of yarn all the way through every single stitch on your entire bind off, and it's not spun. It's gonna fall apart in 3 seconds if you would do nothing to it and just try to sew it. Even with a strand of mohair held with it, it's just gonna fall apart. So one of my friends, one of my knitting friends, Knit and Grace, she so smartly came up with an idea to felt the yarn and then seam with it. If you want more structural stability when sewing with the unspun yarn, you can add another strand of unspun yarn or add a silk mohair or a suri or some other sort of spun yarn with it. But basically you just felt the unspun. When you get your length of yarn that you're going to use to do the bind off, you just felt it all the way along, so it turns into, it's not spun really, but it makes it so much more structurally sound and totally a breeze. It's like you were sewing with a spun yarn. To me, it feels the same. So would definitely recommend doing that. If you have not seen Mia's video on that, I will link it down below. So definitely check that out if you are a unspun yarn knitter And if you want this sort of a look with unspun yarn but don't want to be pulling your hair out, then I would definitely recommend checking out that method. So yeah, right now I still have to do the bind off on the neckline here, and then also on the ends. I just have it on some scrap yarn because I was doing some testing and trying on and things. So yeah, this one's almost complete. I'm so excited, and I'm so excited to finish writing up the pattern for it and getting test knitting going. I'm really excited about this one. I just love how the fabric came out. This fabric was a bit of a tester, kind of made it up a little bit. Herringbone fabric, or herringbone knit, is a stitch that has existed, but the way that I was doing it with 2 colors, the way that I wanted it with 2 colors, this was a bit of a trial and error sort of a process with a lot of swatching at the time. So this is a labor of love. I love this one. So yeah, that's the velvet moss, and I'm sure I'll have it finished next time, but test knitting, I have to look at my calendar again. I'm not sure when I've slated test knitting, but anyway, it's going to be coming for fall. Okay, and then another work in progress. We are in the test knit. We are well into the test knit on this one now. This is my Light Gems wrap, and we are well into test knitting. We're almost, or more than halfway through already on this. So what we did, kind of a fun idea that actually a viewer here recommended we do, was to turn this test knit into more of a knit along style. So instead of just me sending out the pattern to all the test knitters at the beginning and they can work on it as they please, I instead broke up the pattern where each section of the chart was 1 week. And that's been such a fun way to do it. And I think also could be a great way to just knit a pattern, like as a knitter. Like if a pattern seems too overwhelming, or you're not sure how long it will take or where to start, things of that nature, then what if designers could make kind of an alternate pattern, or like a version 2, where they could break up the pattern into, this is, the amount that you could complete in 1 week, and so on and so forth. So you could map out how long it would take you potentially. Or maybe you would have like easier milestones to reach, and maybe that would help you as a knitter like feel like you're progressing more quickly, or I don't know how to explain it, but it was a cool idea and we were talking about it, and I think I like that idea as like a optional sort of a pattern. Anyway, just things I've been thinking about, kind of rambling on. But anyway, this is my version. So I've actually been also knitting along my sample along with the test knitters, since I had finished the chart long ago, and we're just all knitting it at the same time. And it's been so lovely to see their versions. They're coming out absolutely beautifully, and I'm just very excited for us to all finish. And I'm sure by the time I post the next podcast style episode, I think we'll all be finished and this pattern will be out. We shall see. But yeah, it is again called the Light Gems wrap. I wanted it to feel very light and airy and catch the light, and just especially look good in sunlight, and just, oops, sorry, my needles are flying. But yeah, it is all over cable knit. Very long, lengthy style cables with a lot of fun, simple lace. And again, the whole thing is charted out. So very happy with how this is coming along. And for this particular sample, I am using 1 strand of unspun yarn in the colorway Gleamed. This is New to Den yarn I'm using. I just love this color. The pattern was inspired by the color. Just wanted to bring this into light. So yeah, not much else to say on this one for now, but I think it would definitely be a beautiful pattern for a drapey yarn. I wouldn't say this particular unspun is very, very drapey, like naturally. Maybe it will when it blocks out, but anyway, I would definitely think that a drapey, maybe silk or alpaca style of a yarn would just be so luxurious and lovely. Oh, and I almost forgot to tell you what I'm wearing today. If you're curious what I'm wearing, this is my lace cap tee. This is a pattern that I came out with about a year ago at this point, I think. Just a cute little fun tee, a very quick knit. It is knit in a worsted weight yarn, and it's great for those days where it's warm enough that you can wear some more thicker wool, but not so cold that you need sleeves. So I say it's more of a spring and fall sort of a knit, but I don't know. We've been having some interesting weather recently where it gets like, it feels like fall, like it's in the 60s, and then it goes back up to the 90s like a week later. So it's been strange. So I've been able to wear it in July. But anyway, let's get into now some acquisitions. So we went to the Fiber Space in Alexandria, Virginia, which is one of my favorite yarn shops ever. And I wanted to get some more like summer appropriate yarns. I realized that I actually don't have many summer appropriate yarns in my stash. So that's kind of what I was looking for. And I'm definitely going to be ordering some more as well. So yeah, some plant-based stuff, some silk stuff, things like that. So I've spotted this yarn. It is a Kelborn Woolens yarn, but this is actually their Mojave base. And it is cotton and linen, 60% cotton and 40% linen. And I'm really excited to work with this. It's very soft, surprisingly soft for what it is, what it's made out of, cotton and linen. It feels like a very soft linen kind of a base. Linen can sometimes be scratchy or too stiff and kind of wouldn't feel like it would drape nicely as a garment. So I am really excited about these ones, and I think I'm going to be casting on some sort of a summer top soon. Even though we are getting towards the later months of summer, I'm still very much feeling it, and also being in California, you know, we have a lot of warmer months. So I will definitely still be able to get wear out of a new summer top. And then I also have some design ideas, of course, but those will be for next year. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. So yeah, I'm really excited about this Kelborn yarn. And they only had 2 skeins. I'm hoping it's enough for me to make like a small tank top for myself. It is, I guess you would call it fingering. It almost looks like a fingering slash probably a sport weight on this one. And each skein is 50 grams and 185 yards. So it's really not much. I'm hoping I can make it work. Maybe I'll have to add in some other colors or something. We'll see. And then I've also been wanting to try this Knitting for Olive base for a long time. This is their 100% silk base. It's Oecotex certified, and I think it's recycled silk if I'm not mistaken. Pure silk. I feel like I saw somewhere that it's recycled, but perhaps not. But I really, really love the feeling of this, and it's very nicely toothy. Maybe that's the word for it. It's not a shiny, silky silk as you would normally think of it. The only silk yarns, the only pure silk yarns that I've seen in the past have been very shiny, almost plasticky looking, and I really like that this almost looks like linen, but it feels like silk. So it's basically like a really soft linen. I don't know. I really was intrigued by this one. So I got 3 skeins of this colorway, and hopefully that will also turn into some sort of a top. And I also got 1 skein each of some neutrals, which I think I will be playing around with these for a new design. In the same base, they're silk base. This colorway is putty, and this colorway is powder, and I thought that they would make a nice low contrast for something I have in my mind. And this colorway is plum rose, really pretty kind of mauve reddish color, almost like a brick red and also mauve. So yeah, I'm really excited about those yarns, and I haven't had a chance to play with them quite yet, working on a lot of patterns and writing things up and all like that. So lots to do, lots on my plate right now, but I'm having fun with it. And yeah, like I shared with you before, we also got the buttons for my mom's shirt for her Amaretta blouse. We also got those from Fiberspace, and they had a ton of really beautiful, very nice buttons. And yeah, so now I'll have more to use for some other project. Yeah, and I think that's it for today. I think those are all the things I have to update you on. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you did, please do make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel so you see new videos coming up in the future. And I hope you have a great rest of your week and a great rest of your day, and happy with your making. I hope your projects that you're working on right now are going well. Hope that you are working on something that's okay for the summer weather. It's been a bit of a challenge for me sometimes. Like, I'm knitting and I'm like, I want to be knitting, but it's too hot. But anyway, thanks so much for being here, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.